See you later.
All right, and welcome back to MCU Later here at Post Wrestling. My name is Rich Fann, joined as always by my partner in crime, MCU hater, WH Park. WH, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I on the weekend, I was at John Pollock's backyard with Dave Portman, Braden Harrington, Wei Ting. One of our staff writers at the site, Jack went on, was there. It was a fun time. A lot of adult beverages were consumed. I had enough after maybe like two, and I'm like, because I don't have the enzyme because I'm Asian, so I get the Asian flush, and it's not healthy for me to drink too much. So I kind of bowed out a little bit earlier because I live a little bit farther from John than most other people, but it was a good time had by all. Did you see John's tweet that he finally received at his house an authentic double cross ranch branding iron picked up by the Laps fan and our good friend Richard Avian from chopped-tees.com, and it's now in John's studio is the authentic Terry Funk double cross ranch branding iron. What the fuck? But you know what? Coincidentally, a friend of mine is visiting from Japan, and I got something else to complement that, and that's the weekly pro wrestling tribute issue to Terry Funk, forever. So that's one's for me. I got two. One's for me. One's for John Paul. John's be like watching this, like, what? God damn it! That's what he's gonna say.
Well, one person who might be already fired up about what we're doing today, and I'm gonna apologize. I had football. I just finished, for those of you listening on the Torch side of thing, and everything with Wade, where Wade is like, he's criminal. There should be crime. There should be like the Hague set up for bosses that can get you to go like a coach. Like, I can get you 5 yards more than I think you can. Because I was like, wait, I got 2 hours, and then I got to do this podcast with Cam and WH. 2 hours, 40 minutes later, you had already messaged me and said you were running late, WH. I'm like, oh, okay, I had this buffer time. And Wade's like, nah, we're going to keep, it ain't over. He went full, like,
well, cooling on
stomp, the whole stomp, nothing but the stomp, like, just got me. And the man who's with us is I started working with him, Mr. Cameron Hawkins, now of The Ringer, now of that Twitter meme you retweeted and didn't know it was from him, now of that guy you don't read his comment and then quote tweet it, being loud and wrong. Cam, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm reminded like that Wade's not my boss anymore at the funniest times. Like last Monday, so not this week, but last week, I took my buddies Caden Lee from Wrestle Purist and Brian Zillum from PW Torch. I took them to Raw, and we, Raw's over at 10 Central. So Brian and I, we parked downtown. We got some food with some buddies before the show, and I walk back with him to the car. Like, we don't get an Uber. Like, we take the walk. We take like the half-hour walk, through downtown. There's like a big crowd of people, so it didn't feel like that long of a time. So we get to the car. He drove. I get back to my place around 11. And I talked to him the next day, and he's like, "Yeah, I jumped on the post show with Wade." I was like, "You jumped on the post show with Wade at like 11:30 at night? Like, what? For what?" Again, it's. If the roles were reversed, I'd probably be doing the same thing. But I'm allowed to be like, why though? Why would you do that? Like, go home and go to sleep and love your family. Like, stop doing this.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, it was a very fun night. He's miserable and Caden's miserable because people who do our jobs are just miserable people half the time. But I enjoy like taking them to events where I get to watch them be miserable and I just laugh at their misery. So yeah.
I learned a long time ago, and you know this. I don't hate watch. I do hate follow some people just because Rovert gotta get observed, and some folks like that gotta get observed, and it's like, what are they gonna say that's so stupid it's gonna piss me? It's one of those things. But now we're gonna do that with Marvel for the next 5 weeks, y'all. 4 weeks, y'all. Cam's the first up. As you saw from the logo that WH and I saw today when Waiting dropped it on us, the L dropped out. You add the H. We're MCU haters. We're going to talk about X-Men Apocalypse. For those of you who've been following this, you know how much I hate that movie. This man, Warren Worthington III, has wings. He's an angel. He dies in a plane crash. You take
But it makes
Oscar
sense.
Isaac.
But it makes sense.
Oscar Isaac, give him 40 pounds of makeup. Have him hate Marvel and hate comic book movies until we give him Moon Knight. You have someone give up a role in Deadpool to do this god-awful movie, but we're going to get to that. But before, we're going to talk about some positivity, because I just mentioned Deadpool. My man's going to be doing this till he's 90. It is now the highest grossing R-rated movie in the history of the film industry. I don't, their superlatives they just keep coming. And then this weekend, it was usurped by another Disney or property in Alien Romulus, which is the Hater Hall of Fame. I will not give out spoilers, but I need somebody to hate me as much as my man hates James Cameron taking his movie and turning it into an action movie. Like, I've seen the interviews for Romulus. The movie's great. Go see it. It is outstanding. The gentleman who created the Evil Dead remake did it, and he basically tried to remake the Alien franchise, which was fun, scary, awesome. But James Cameron, the first thing they said was, hey, and this is great. This is hate speak. I'm not going to use that as our catchphrase because that just sounds horrid. He's like, hey, James Cameron was on set, and he gave me some notes. And James Cameron's like, man, I was there a day, and I told him I like what he was doing. And then Ridley was there every day. So I was like, so you were there, and you see Ridley over there like, yeah, okay, whatever notes he gave you, do the opposite. I hate that dude. Like, out here making Ripley wear clothes. She doesn't have to strip down. Having space marines with agency. Okay, anyway. So, yes, so we go. Disney's making money. We're happy. I know Jermaine's going to be happy that Joker La Folie à Deux will be out, but we don't care about that. But we do care about this. Kahori is getting her own comic book during the Voices special coming up in a few months. Cam, as our guest, and welcome back, my friend. What were your thoughts on Deadpool and Deadpool's status now, and all the money it's made, and the news here that may have been a surprise about Kahori getting her own comic series?
Yeah, Deadpool was, had to go see it Thursday. It's still that. I love you can tell when somebody has like an affinity and affection for the characters they play. Ryan Reynolds is very much Deadpool. Deadpool's very much Ryan Reynolds. And if you know me, you know Blade 2 is like my favorite movie. And so me going into it not knowing any of the surprises or spoilers, like I geeked out in the theater. I really did. And it's just like that little bit kind of encompasses everything. Like, everything with Fox wasn't a total loss. Not everything, not all of it, a bunch of it, like we're going to talk about tonight, that you made me rewatch. Wow, that was a long 2 hours. Jesus. But yeah, man, I love the attention to detail. I love the appreciation for the characters. Everybody seemed to be having a good time, which is super rare. Just I've seen it 4 times now, I think. Once legally. Just amazing. Just very, very fun. And I am like at this point in my life, I'm full like heavy spoilers, screen crush guy. Well, where I'll watch something a bunch and then let guys nerdier than me tell me everything I missed in the movie and then go back and try to find it. So just fun. And you talk about this special here. Listen, I like that we're in a position to throw everything at the wall to see if it's going to work. A lot this week has been like, you see, was the Marvels like really that bad of a movie? It's like, no, nobody who you would trust around your friends or your wife or your kids thinks it's a bad movie. or you bring around mixed company thinks it's a bad movie. A very specific subset of people came out against the movie for very obvious reasons, and it's a shame that properties like the Marvels suffer. It's a shame that we're not going to get a season 2 of like The Acolyte, because again, a very specific subset of people claim to have problems with things that 20 years ago they liked just fine before their brains were mush, you know? So it's good to see new things happening. It's great to see, again, a property like Deadpool not only make it this far, but clearly we're not done. Like, even if it's not full-fledged 4, 5, 6, like who knows? The characters and the spirit of the characters is very much going to continue. And they're going to find a way, to balance that with the more family-friendly things they do. And like, I'm not a Disney adult. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like going to the park and this is the most magical place on earth. I'm not. I worked at SeaWorld for like most of my teenage years. Like, I'm not in love with the idea of theme parks in that way, but I do appreciate the idea that there are things that I'm always going to appreciate from Disney, and I don't have to feel like I aged out of them now. Like, this is still a place where I can go to get the familiar content and things that I'll appreciate. So like I saw Inside Out in the summer. I saw Inside Out and Inside Out 2. I was like, oh, like they can do stuff like this where, okay, kid stuff, but also adult stuff. Like, there's a bridge. So yeah, I'm in good spirits. I feel good about the things that we're getting right now, and especially, Deadpool. It was Blade, man. It was Blade. I was so excited. It was great.
I love that you mentioned Inside Out too, because one of the things I also wanted to talk about alongside all this is Brian Cox came out this week and talked about the film industry is essentially getting eaten alive by these properties. And so I wanted to share real quick. You look at the tab here, and you can see with our MCU Later logo underneath. Inside Out 2, as of right now, is the 10th highest grossing movie of all time. Wow. And that's after 7 weeks. You scroll down, and a difference of about, sounds crazy, 300 million, 400 million in Deadpool and Wolverine, #1 R-rated movie ever, 31st. I think Mr. Cox is right, but for the wrong reason. He was talking about how the film industry is eating itself. I think the issue is there's folks, like you were mentioning, that don't want to see things in new lights, so you have to kind of trick them. And so sometimes it's, as you were just discussing when it came to The Acolyte, it's from a racial dynamic where, oh, now you have a strong Asian male lead, a strong black female lead. It's a little weird. You scroll up and you have Joker, and Joker is basically the desire of a director to make a 70s movie, and he had to use IP that would allow him to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I mean, you just saw an interview this week where he talks about, I made this movie as a sequel because during the pandemic, I wanted to take Joaquin Phoenix on the road and do a show. Kind of like how before Andy Kaufman died, he'd show up as the insult comic and just randomly show up in comic clubs. So WH, my question to you, would you have gone to a Joaquin Phoenix comedy show as the Joker?
I mean, that's, as the Joker,
yeah,
isn't the draw, but to see Joaquin Phoenix live would be the draw for me. Like, because I think he's a fantastic actor and performer, and I've been a big fan of his work for a long time. Like, I don't think the Joker is his best role ever. I think it's really down on the totem pole for me, that performance. I think things like John Cash and the what's that crime film he did where he's like basically like a hired vigilante. He's really great in that, and just a lot of his other stuff is much better. But to see him live, sure, I would go see him live. I would find it probably more amusing rather than entertaining to watch Joaquin Phoenix perform live as the Joker on stage. But if it cost me a lot of money, no, I wouldn't go to that. If I could somehow get in for free, sure, why not?
What about you, Cam?
I'm very selective about who I go see in comedy clubs at this point. I live in Austin. It's very hit or miss down here right now with the Kill Tonys and Joe Rogans of the world. maybe I wouldn't leave if I was there and he started going. I probably stayed throughout the thing, depending on how it went. But I could imagine that would be a lot of fun, though.
I think I would. I think I would go. I mean, I've been in here in Pittsburgh to see uh, Charlie Murphy. I've seen uh, I've seen some. I mean, I've seen some crazy folks live when I was in California, like 2 a.m. and Chris Rock is like testing sets out at the Comedy Store, and Pauly Shore's there just like drinking and cackling. And yeah, like you said, if a Joe Rogan shows up and he skedaddles on out of there, it like nah,
Good.
I don't know if I can do that. But seeing this dude show up and maybe Lady Gaga is out there to sing a number, that's like a free Lady Gaga concert. Like I just that's a net savings of like $1,000. I'll do that. I mean, just like I'm sure the gentleman I'm about to throw up in a second probably would have done his scenes for scale, but he's not a dumb man and he knows what money looks like. Channing Tatum. There's some photos that came out this week that illustrated, and those of you who are watching on YouTube or Cam stream when available, he was literally waiting for this moment his whole life because he found pictures of him as a child dressed as Gambit. And other than the accent, I think this is the most comic accurate Gambit we've ever seen. Cam, what were your thoughts on his portrayal of Gambit? Would you like to see more of him as Gambit?
I think what was fun, with Deadpool, normally he's the only character in the movie that's kind of tongue in cheek. Gambit was very much tongue in cheek. And like you could just tell he was having such a ball chewing up the scenery. Again, that accent, like he has a line. Channing Tatum has been in, he has the Jump Street franchise. Of course, he has the Magic Mike. He's done. Of course, he was in the Hateful Eight, one of my favorite movies. Like he has like these really big time roles. I can't think of him having a line before this movie. And now he can just go around and say, "Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself." Yeah, like I love it. It's so good. And again, it's so cheesy, but you can tell how much fun he was having. And they'd even do the thing where like they acknowledge that this character never got off the ground, And rest in peace to Taylor Kitsch. I know he's not dead, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like I think it's really cool how they played it. I've always thought Gambit had like the very worst costume of all of the X-Men. It just kind of existed. I don't know why his head is covered up like this, but I was always one of those people who, like, as a kid, when people would say, like I say as a kid, now as an adult, when people would be like, Gambit was my favorite X-Men, I'm like, for what? Like, he's never been good in like any like real. He's never been good in any like TV media, actually. And going back on it, original X-Men cartoon, he did have some really good moments, but his solo comics never really got off the ground. He had some really cool arcs, but I never really understood that. And now I'm like, oh, yep. And especially with what happened in X-Men 97, he should be one of your favorites. Amazing turn. A lot of rehab for him and Cyclops with that. But yeah, man, I loved it. Like, I don't know if I could stomach a whole movie, but yes, one of the greatest like third down backs ever in a movie. He was fantastic.
Now, this is a great transition because speaking of X-Men 97, we also have the unfortunate pleasure to discuss the writer, creator, producer, sassy King Sass of the series. So Mr. Beau lost writing credits for the second season, and he claimed it was because of an anti LGBTQIA agenda. And then Marvel just started dropping information about copious things. And so Beau's lawyer came out, and here, for those of you watching, I'll read it out. My client never sent lewd videos and photos to his direct reports. That is a bald-faced lie and defamatory. No one who reported Beau to HR received an inappropriate photo or video. That is simply untrue. As a proud gay black man, Disney knew exactly who he was and what he stood for. That's why they did not tell him to stop his OnlyFans page. Strike one. HR has several people on file saying this dude did some stuff. Second, no disrespect to the community, but why are you running one of the most important things Disney's got on the table with an OnlyFans page just out in the ether. I'll continue. When they objected to his free speech rights and not complying with illegal NDAs, a certain person over there tried to replace him because he was becoming more successful than other creators. Ask Disney if his separation agreement illegally silenced him. Let me know what they say. Don't print this crap. It's wrong and defamatory. How do you get fired again on your day off, Beau? WH with...
I mean, I watched this really, I thought, very informative kind of piece on him by New Rockstars of all sites on YouTube, and they really went into like the timeline, the chronology of like when his trouble started, when Beau DeMayo's trouble started, and it comes from like, you know, from things we didn't know about because it was behind the scenes. It was him being inappropriate with various members of his staff. And this is all, I would assume basically what his lawyer, he just more or less confirmed that it was multiple people, not just one person. Right. And then he takes a stance, not based on like, I think trying to protect his free speech or represent a certain community or anything. It just comes across as like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Fuck you for telling me not to. And it's entitlement, right? It's just bold-faced entitlement. And then he doesn't think that he should be accountable to his employer who pays him money, who has a certain image that if you work for a giant one of the largest corporations in the world, and their entire business is based on having a certain type of image, and you go against that image, I don't know what you expect. It's like Gina Carano. I don't know what she expects when she's like making like, you know, making a total ass of herself against a certain community because she feels like she can say whatever she wants. Well, you know, that works in theory, but in reality, when you are beholden, I'm sorry, like we are all like, we have to protect or uphold an image for whoever employs us, right? Like I can't go out here saying defamatory things about this or that. Kenny Omega, sure, that's fine. I got away with that for 10 years now. But like, you know, like other things, the Young Bucks, I can defame them. It's fine. It's all true anyways. But like, I can't be saying things about certain communities, right? Because like John and Wade wouldn't have it. My employers at my real job wouldn't have it if they found out. You know what I mean? It would be bad image. So you're working for fucking Disney and you think I'm going to make fun of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm going to just, you know, be inappropriate, act inappropriately, and then say, it's not my fault. It's these people who want to silence me because I'm so much more successful than they are. No, you can't do that. What are you thinking?
That's the super interesting thing to me. So like, you know, we are, you know, all men of a certain age. We've had careers for a long period of time. We've seen a lot of things, not only with our careers, but with friends and with peers, and especially with like people in high positions, right? So the easiest example I can give is this. You know what Tyreek Hill doesn't talk about? Like, the more successful you are, a lot of times the more you can get away with. But what you can't get away with is not shutting the fuck up about it. Like it is so, and I think the problem is, again, I don't know Beau from nobody, right? But the problem is, it seems like it's the people who, one of the worst things that can happen to somebody who might have behavioral issues is success and appreciation, and a bunch of people who don't know you telling you how great you are. Like that can be addictive to the point where you want to tell your side, even if you don't got a side, you feel the need to uphold this. Like if this show had been moderately successful, maybe none of this happens. But when it's all of a sudden touted as animation renaissance and
100% on Rotten Tomatoes,
doing something the right way that hasn't been done in so long because you're not beholden to how many toys you're going to sell or fitting in with making sure it's good with the MCU, the DCU, or any of that. You don't have to answer to your Saturday morning masters. Like, the worst thing that could happen to him personally was this thing being the massive success that it is, because now you want more. Now you want to do more. Like, you know, WH, you brought it up. You know, a lot of what we heard about him, the whispers came from when he was working on The Witcher, right? And it was, you know, people, like random people who like worked on set were like tweeting about, yo, this dude who was on there, not gonna say no names, but like, listen, every bad thing you've ever heard about somebody, you heard it twice. And that's the hard part. Like, that's what's tough. And you got a reputation. And even with all that said, the mouse was gonna let him live. And you can't tell me he wouldn't have found another job, because these studios are soulless and do not care who they bring around as long as the success is there. All he had to do was shut up, and he couldn't shut up. And look at where he is.
And it is absolutely appropriate to lead into the fact that the movie we're about to hate for the next 20 minutes, Bryan Singer is a guy who shut up. He tried for a little bit. Superman Returns came out. Kind of went away. And then all of a sudden, he shut up and he blinks and he's back in control of one of the most important franchises at the time in Fox's wheelhouse. So, before we get started, I do want to ask the question. As you look on the screen here, this is a nice little poster they had in the theaters at the time it came out, 2016. Which character do y'all want to start with? I got my notes as always. I mean, I'll hit it with Singer's the director. Ken Berg's one of the writers. Ken Berg returns with the New Mutants, which we're going to do later. A movie I swore I would never watch. Like right now, Daniel Palmer is laughing his fatherly butt off that I had to watch this again, and that I'm going to watch the New Mutants. So, just with that said, you got Oscar Isaac, Olivia Munn, Cody Smith McPhee, Alexandra Shipp, who had the not the audacity, she had the ignominy of having to deal with the weight of Halle Berry, because as much as people panned her as Storm, her cultural cachet, even now as Catwoman, almost 20 years on, people are like, man, we had to give Halle a chance. It's like, you better give her a chance. But then also the colorism that came in because they said she wasn't Aurora enough. Sophie Turner, fresh off Game of Thrones and the Joffrey storyline where she got to show she could be darker, as Jean Grey. Evan Peters as, I know, Cam's favorite Quicksilver. Ty Sheridan as a version of Scott Summers that will be much funnier in the next movie because he starts cussing like me after Vacation Bible School. Josh Hellman as Stryker's back. And last but not least, Lana Connor as Jubilee. And of course, you have any of the other folks there. Cam, you're the guest. Who do you want to start with in terms of this cast and how they fit relative to the pillars I didn't mention? You have Oscar winners. You have just acting tour de forces that are there that happen to be stuck sometimes in roles that don't fit them, Mr. Out. Sometimes in roles that they don't fit anymore because they got big in the terms of Miss Law. And then, of course, you know, the tag team of the sassiest two men to ever play, Charles Xavier and Eric Magnus Lyncher.
So you can go with either one, but like the it's damn near impossible to mess up Professor X, right? It's damn near impossible. Part of it is the animated series portraying him so well. Part of it is Patrick Stewart portraying him so well. Part of it is him not having to do a whole lot of lifting. Maybe if you get directors and writers even from comics who don't live through the, I don't want to say caricature, but the hyperbolic way that we understand an MLK, maybe then you mess that up. But it's very hard to mess up, even when they figure in, a younger Charles Xavier who might be more idealistic, who might be slightly manipulative. I think they do a fine job. But can we talk about Magneto a little bit? It's such a good first act with him right there. It's so good. Charles, I tried to do it your way. I think that where they have him living, meeting a family, having a kid, it being literally like years later of him doing the right thing.
In Poland, like they were like, "Oh, this is gonna get ugly."
I even think that the scene in the woods with how the police reacted, I thought they played that well. I really do. And then he just kind of gives up being angry. He just kind of stops being mad. There's no real... To go from that motivation in the first act to him being over the edge, to him kind of saying, nah, I don't want this because like a couple of mutants were being hurt. Kids he barely knew because this was like a new class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say I hate this movie. And I know we're going to get into the whole thing. I know we're going character by character and I'm with you. I'm not going to say I hate this movie. What I am going to say is I hate that people let Days of Future Past let them think this movie was going to be good. Because Days of Future Past wasn't good. And it's not my show. I know you're going to talk about that with somebody else, but it wasn't a good movie. It was a movie that was just fine after a good movie. And it just kept sinking. But like, no, this was not. He gained all the power he could ever want to have. The Magneto that we know would have flipped that into really remaking the world in the proper image eventually. Not just give up the ghost because, it looks like a couple of kids are hurt and my boy needs me. You were ready to kill everybody 20 minutes ago. And no significant event occurred to change that. You weren't like walking around hesitant. Soon as you met Apocalypse and he told you what he could do, you were in it. You were down for it. It is a complete misunderstanding of what stakes are to Magneto and when they appear. And again, seeing X-Men 97 kind of nail it. And why he's doing the things he's doing. This happened in a week. In a week, he massacred a forest full of cops. And then was taking over the Earth's poles. And then was like, nah, I'm good.
WH, what are your thoughts on the portrayal of Magneto in this?
So I agree with Cam. I think like his story arc from the beginning with his wife and daughter, he's found peace in Poland, and that's a very important point because that's where his happiness ends and his tragedy begins again, right? First during World War II in Auschwitz, and then later on he finally finds some peace with a new family and his own child, and that ends. And then you give him all this power, but from the moment he meets Apocalypse, he's pretty much emasculated. He is not the most dangerous person that the X-Men have ever encountered. And that's what he should always be. He should be the most dangerous mutant that the X-Men have ever encountered in their history, both in the comics and on film. And don't even get me started about him being part of the X-Men, not being part of the X-Men, being part of the X-Men, not being part of the X-Men in the comics. Because I just think I don't give a shit about Magneto in the comics anymore because it's too many times. It's just like too many heel turns, too many babyface turns. Like, I don't even care about this character anymore in the comics because he makes no sense to me. As it's not like you consistently make Victor Von Doom very interesting character, right? And you don't like, he's gonna, like sometimes he's allied with the Fantastic, but it's always like there's some agenda with that, right? Like there's like, oh, you can't trust, he's gonna do something. He's gonna do something. Magneto's like, maybe he's genuine this time. Oh, he's in love with Rogue. Oh no, but then something else happened. Then there's Joseph, and then there's all this other bullshit with Magneto. But in this film, like, I think Fassbender gives as as good as a performance as he's able to with the material that he's given. I think he gives an excellent performance with you show the human side of Eric, but when he becomes like pawn of Apocalypse, you can tell like he's like, this isn't what my character would be like. I've read the source material. I've kind of studied this character. That he would not be some pawn to like another mutant. I don't care how powerful Apocalypse is, right?
And not to cut you off, I'm sorry. The third movie in a row doing the same arc to diminishing returns.
Exactly. You kind of, I don't like the wish, like his end at First Class where he's like, this is what I'm going to be because I'm tired of all this other shit happening to my people and I'm going to protect them. That was amazing. that was like, okay, that's who Magneto is. I think the purest form of Magneto is probably, like First Class and X-Men 2. X-Men, which I think, that's Ian McKellen's finest portrayal of the Magneto character. But if we talk about Charles, I think McAvoy really shines when showing the side of Charles that is the teacher, that they show the professor in him, right? When he's like this, smitten with Moira, Playboy guy, that I just happened to wipe her mind of memories of me and the X-Men, but I'm still in love with her. Oh, I peek in on her psychically with Cerebro. That's weird. But when he's like trying to teach his kids, when the classroom scenes of him like trying to teach them about Shakespeare, about like what is this author trying to tell us about the world, about humanity, about ourselves. I like those scenes a lot. I'm glad that they finally got rid of the hair and they gave me comic accurate Charles Xavier. I really want to see him as Professor X again with the bald head and older, because I think he would bring so much and a good script, bring so much gravitas. I think if he looked at like Patrick Stewart and Logan, he'd be like, give me something like that. Or otherwise, I'm not saying yes to coming back unless you give me Chris Evans money or Hemsworth money, or he's not getting RDJ money, but like maybe Hemsworth money, he'll come back for that if there's no good script. But he again is like, it's the same old thing with Charles in this film as in like the other two films that he's in. And again, like First Class is the epitome, like the pinnacle of McAvoy as Charles Xavier, because you get to see a different take on him, but like you can see where it's going to lead into Patrick Stewart's version of the character. Everyone else is just kind of there, like Olivia Munn. Like, why?
Wait,
like this is not Suck. This is not my. I'm sorry.
Hold on one second, because I want to hit you guys with a little piece of knowledge. There's a reason too Charles had some struggles, because if you notice that suit's a little tight on him. While he was filming this movie, he was also filming
Split. Oh, he's a monster.
So that suit was kind of like they had to pour it on my man, because he was doing supersets basically between.
Yeah.
But so, and these both movies came out. One comes out in the X-Men movie comes out in the early part of 2016. Split comes out in the fall, because that's what they do at Shyamalan movies, because they don't know if they're going to do well or not. You're either going to remember them or you're going to forget them by October. In the case of Split, this was originally his character was originally supposed to be the villain in Unbreakable, and Shyamalan just wrote him out and put in Mr. Glass instead. And so, to your point, WH, that's why I went before we moved to Miss Munn. This is a guy who has so much creative energy. He's doing both of these roles basically concurrently, and there's no Xavier here. There's no of any of the characters in the X-Men Apocalypse movie, mainly because he probably got to turn his brain off a little once he realized he wasn't getting challenged to the level he wanted. But again, I just wanted to throw that out so for those of you watching, you can see that, and you can see James McAvoy in one of my favorite movies. WH and I got to go to the comic shop that they featured in that movie, which was quite fun for me.
This is in Philly, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Miss Munn.
Yeah. Hashtag not my Psylocke. Just, and why, everyone's in these flight suits and you give her a fucking bikini? Like, why? Like,
because it's comic. This is the one time Bryan Singer wanted to be comic accurate for some reason.
But for one of the most like difficult things to translate into live action is like a woman wearing a swimsuit in 2015, 16. You just do something different with the character. Like make her a fucking ninja or something. I don't know. Like
what's her story? WH.
She has
Cam?
there's no fucking story. She's like Caliban's fucking bodyguard.
She's a heavy. Like she's just as heavy.
Right?
With no like she's Gina Carano in Deadpool. Like she's just the heavy. There's no reason like for her loyalty to Caliban other than like I like being a mean girl.
And that's not her. That's if you're a fan of the character, that's not who she is, either as Betsy Braddock version or Quanon's version.
Like, who is it?
It's Betsy Braddock according to Wikipedia. That's what we're seeing. So I don't know.
So it's Betsy Braddock in Quanon's body.
Well, we're never going to see that. They're not going to give us the depth of like the history of like overly complicated history of Psylocke with body switching, Siege Perilous, and all that stuff. But I mean, if we go down, like I think the worst, I think like Nightcrawler is great in this film. I think the actor, what's his name again? Cody Smith McPhee, I think does a great version of Nightcrawler. But yeah, I think the worst character in this film is Angel, because they just go straight to Archangel, right? They just go straight to Archangel. But he's already Archangel with his feather wings because he's fighting in a like underground.
He's underground. Okay, Warren Worthington. Okay, I'm gonna take the ball for a minute. Just click. Warren Worthington III, supposed to be one of the backup bankrollers for the X-Men. Supposed to be one of the original 5. A guy who's tortured because of the fact his father can't accept him. Morlock Massacre. The crucifixion image is something that's burned in my head up there with God Loves, Man Kills. And you turn him into Butterbean's stand-in. And then he's drinking whiskey and Apocalypse comes through and say, let me give you some mutant steroids and make it feel good. Like it's the end of friggin' Monsters Ball. And this mofo dies in a plane. In a plane. They leave him, the guy who can fly and use his wings as flechettes to cut anything up until that point in the movie, and he dies in a plane. That is the dumbest. Like, a good friend of ours that Cam and I share, I didn't talk to that man for a month because he tried to explain to me why that made sense. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a movie. I laughed out loud. Me and the other 2 people in the movie theater, they were surprised that I laughed. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm a guy who loves the Four Horsemen. I loved when he was Archangel. I loved the Extreme X-Men where he had the battle between the versions. And you give me this? I felt bad for Miss Ship. Like, of all the people there, I feel bad for Miss Ship. I felt bad for Sophie Turner because she entered a party at the wrong time with the wrong friends, and she's catching strays for no reason. But my man playing Angel, I mean, Mr. Isaac, we already know. What do I say about that? Go ahead, Cam.
So when Storm, like basically he does the what is it, the Kami from Dragon Ball unlock your potential thing, right? Yeah. Whenever that happens to the Horsemen, it also affects their mood and personality for the most part, right? It did nothing to Storm. It did nothing to Psylocke. So, and it did nothing to Magneto other than make them stronger. So, like, it stands to reason it didn't affect anything personality-wise for Angel. When you change somebody's origin stories from the comic, they still need one. Like, how hard would it have been to say, I squandered my family's money gambling on my fights? Or anything. Anything at all. No, he was just a bum-ass fighter who, like, couldn't do it anymore because his wings were going to shit. Like, it's a misunderstanding of their relationship. Because, like, again, X-Men 92 just does such a good job of making you care. He wasn't blue. Like,
my man looked like Jack Perry.
He was on screen to be on, like, when you don't appreciate the thing that you're making, you just throw things at the wall. Hey, you know what character we ain't used in a minute? Let's throw Angel out there. Like it's so disappointing. Like the Four Horsemen as a unit. Like you didn't care what happened to Psylocke. Look at it. Just go up. You're good. But like, and shout out to Olivia Munn, who like trained like for this. She ain't do no karate. Like
they're like, your scene, cut something in half with the SFX.
Yeah. I find it difficult, Rich, to have long, detailed conversations about the treatment of like Black characters in these things, because I think that I want to believe that Darwin dying the way that he did wasn't a slap in the face to Black people. I want to believe that, right? I'm sure somebody can convince me otherwise. But the idea that Storm just, again, not introduced terribly, pretty good introduction. I even slightly like the idea that the thing that flipped for her was Mystique was a hero. Okay, fine. But she did nothing the whole movie other than sit there in the cut and ultimately decide to choose a side. She was just hiding in the building the whole time. Like, it's just such a fundamental misunderstanding until you do the scene where you give them all costumes and make us think they're going to be actual people. Like, until then, there's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what they are, what they represent, their confidence. Nightcrawler, maybe Beast. That's all I got. Like, those two are fine. Hey, okay.
Let's talk about your friend.
Love the kid. They shouldn't have done it twice. I think that in the first movie, it was such an incredible scene. And in the second movie, I did think it was overkill. And as much fun as I had watching it again, I thought it was overkill. Because when you have him do that, you remember the DC versus Marvel comics, the ones from the early 90s, where it was him up against the Flash, and the Flash smoked him. And they said, speed of sound ain't speed of light. Like, these are different things. I think that to go out of your way to make him so OP and then not really have that figure into how things play out at the end, I thought that was overkill. And again, very fun character. Appreciated his motivations. I think they did do a good job of him and his arc, why these things mattered to him. I did think that was good. But you should have the foresight to know they're not going to let you get away with this shit again. So you might as well play off him knowing who his daddy was. Like, remember when phase 2 of the MCU was all a love letter to Empire? Like, the entire thing. And this was, you had the audacity to talk about how bad X-Men 3 was when you tried to recreate that same movie in your fourth and made the damn Star Wars Christmas special. Like, boy, I didn't like this movie.
Just as a palate cleanse, I'm going to throw in him in WandaVision, where they had us. I was like, I thought he was going to be the anchor being. I didn't realize it was going to be Wade. I didn't realize he was going to do it for us.
It was so good.
Marvel Jesus. I thought this was him. WH, I'm gonna throw something on here, and it ties into what we just reviewed. Cam talked about unnecessary outfits, unnecessary character developments that go nowhere. Let's talk about the side quest in the RPG we didn't need.
Yeah, I think actually one of the few things I enjoyed about this movie.
So, like, you're in the darkness. Like, I had forgotten about this completely. So the X-Men have just blown up. As always, the mansion's blown up. They get captured. They're kidnapped. The youngins have to try to save him, and along the way they find Weapon X. And the cackle I cackled when I realized this man's gonna be in this role really until he's not. Like, they really had it. They were like, listen, we got an idea. We just need you for on set for a day. Can you do like 5,000 crunches and a couple of hang cleans and just like get yourself right? Can you get yourself right? Can you do it for us? Because we're not gonna just put you in like a bodysuit. We need all of Jackman. We need all of Jackman. He's like Rick Rude. It's an upper body business pal. Like, we need all of that.
I mean, I think it's probably a rib, if we're gonna use the wrestling vernacular, probably on Bryan Singer's part, to tell Hugh Jackman, like, oh yeah, you're gonna be shirtless. We're gonna give you Hulk banner pants, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, what, is he the Hulk? Why has he got like fucking cut off? Fucking, is he John Cena? What's he going for here? That's not what he wears. That's what the fucking Hulk wears. But, and then, I mean, this is one of the, I mean, comics, it works. This Weapon X stuff, the headpiece and shit like that. In real life, no. There's a reason why they don't do that in the in his first solo movie, right? They don't do any, as far as I can remember, they don't do it like to this terrible extent where he's got two Walkmans and you know, I don't know, and
He's
something
got two Walkmans. He does.
or some shit, you know, like. But that being said, did I enjoy him cutting up all the members of Stryker's team? Of course I did. Hashtag my Wolverine. Berserker Rage, baby. Love it. You know? And you know what? And Hugh got paid. You know, that fucking guy got paid. And good for him. Good for him. Get paid, my friend. Get paid. Get paid Wolverine money till you're fucking 90. That's what I want.
Speaking of this series of movies, hey, you know when I found out that Kevin Bacon was the rebellious kid in Footloose, mm-hmm. at the beginning of Footloose, I knew Kevin Bacon was trouble from the jump in Footloose. By the way he carried himself, by the way they presented him. Why randomly did Cyclops need to break out of the mansion to go kick it when we never saw an instance of him ever kicking it with anybody up until that point? He wasn't cool kid, hang out with everybody. He was awkward kid who did not have friends. That's what they portrayed. And all of a sudden he's, yo, hey, other cool kids, let's bust out of here and go catch a movie. Like,
he becomes Jubilee, basically. That's Jubilee's role.
Y'all ready to get angrier? Are you ready? Let me know when you're ready to get angrier.
You got it.
He did this for free. I'm going to read off his salaries. X-Men, 500,000. X-Men 2, 1 million. X-Men Last Stand, 5 million. X-Men Origins Wolverine, 20 million. The Wolverine, 20 million. Days of Future Past, 7 million. Apocalypse, 0. Logan, 3 million. He took a pay cut to do the movie, otherwise Fox wouldn't. The movie that they brag is the anti-comic book movie that got them Oscars and got them notoriety, they wouldn't do it unless he took a pay cut to pay for everything else. Just like another movie, remember, in Deadpool, where they were just like, nah, we're... So Ryan Reynolds, just as an aside, and we'll get back to this horrible movie, 20 million up front plus percentages on the back end. That's how you join the club.
He knew what time it was.
But you know what? That was an investment because it's paying off now. Because Kevin Feige taking care of my boy Hugh Jackman here.
Look at him. They wouldn't even give him time to get in shape. Like, that's no offense to him. Like, he's in regular Hugh Jackman. I'm walking around Australia, mate. Word to Dickie Bird. Like, I'm just living life. This isn't the HGH fueled monster that shows up in most of the other movies, but you get what you pay for. This man is enjoying life just off The Greatest Showman, and you're like, let me do this on gratis as a favor, mate. And yeah, so he's wearing those Walkmans for free. Think about that. Think about the audacity.
Like, he has the interaction with Jean, who I've never seen. Again, the faith that you were going to get another movie to try to fix a story that you made worse, because Dark Phoenix is worse than X3, and X3 is fucking horrible. But it was just no. I'm the one that they're really afraid of. I can't control my powers either. It's like shout out like Hank McCoy. I thought was just fine, but he's also not like he's smart, but he's not like learned. And then again, Nightcrawler's fine. He's precocious and awkward and like a real. He's the only real teenager in the whole damn franchise. Like everyone else is One Tree Hill or Dawson's Creek teenager, where yes, our age is 16, but everything we do is being 23. So he's like the one teenager in all of it. But that damn Mystique, man. I wouldn't be upset if again, X-Men 92 never existed. Because you remember that scene of Morph after he gets like free of Sinister, and he does that couple of seconds where he's 8 different mutants and he's like busting up Sentinel like he's going crazy, right? Like he's really when he was beating Master Mold's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like they reduced her to she was like Black Widow without the flips. Hey, why don't you just be smaller real quick? Or why don't you grow real quick into something big? Do something. Like she was just, and again, she's a hero to everybody, and everybody looks up to her, and she's like this amazing, like do that. Or give us a reason why she can't jump in and out of different like shapes and people anymore, or do something. She was just team member. And if this is at this point, this is like one of the 4 or 5 most famous actors on the planet. They even tried to explain why she walked around not blue, right, when we knew it was like, nah, I'm not doing all that makeup, dog.
Mutant and proud.
But it's like, yo, you can have her play 15 different characters. Just pay those actors the peanuts you was gonna pay them anyway to have them be things in the moment. It was just so lazy. And she I'm not talking about like an actor's work ethic, because get away with what you can get away with, right? But you got to make the movie better if she's not trying. You got to have other people doing other things. No, she was just her with a blowout.
Right. Now, that first picture I put up, that was yet another controversy because they had this as one of their first promos they did in Hollywood. It was a giant poster of this on a billboard, and people were like, can you pick literally any other way to depict a woman that just won an Oscar other than getting choked by Ivan Ooze? And then they were told it was Apocalypse, and they were like, my condolences. Every time they had a chance to step on a rake, they did it. I think you're right. When you look at these kids, like
flight suits, they put him in flight suits, and she told Beast, "You got a warplane, let's go to war." It's a flight suit. If you called it armor, then maybe I'm thinking it's armor. You called it a flight suit. Like, what does it have to do with going to battle whatsoever? If they had taken armored suits from the base, maybe even. Like, it's so lazy. It's so lazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So they have their big fight. We get to the end, and I don't know if you guys remember this part, but Magneto decides, I know Cam, you just watched it. Magneto decides he's out of there. And so they decide, okay, here's the team. We're going to get ready and we're going to set this up. I was trying to find. I tried to spend most of the day at like when I was on my breaks trying to find it. But they basically took the ending from the Winter Soldier at the is and then like the fake Avengers assemble. And it's like, okay, we're in the war room, we're not gonna show anything, but we're the X-Men. Thoughts on just this?
They
ending?
didn't have the costumes in the next movie, Rich.
I know. They just don't. They don't. They every. It's the hubris. And here, when we started the journey that led to getting to Deadpool, I asked the question at the very first episode we did: is Deadpool and Wolverine going to hit $1 billion? And the reason I did it isn't because I'm some just like over officious like cinephile. It's because this is one of the highest. This is the A team. This is the highest team you could have in Marvel. Like Justice League, these are the guys. And at no point, this is the third highest grossing movie out of everything they did. So you're like 7 movies in, and this is it. Other than Dark Phoenix and Days of Future Past, like Days of Future Past, I get. I enjoyed parts of that, but Dark Phoenix, like I had to turn my brain off. Like again, me and Shahid went around. I was like, okay, so why is it that they're projecting this? Okay, they're gonna do it this way, whatever. They announced this movie before Days of Future Past was even released. They're like, yeah, I'm doing this too.
You know, a movie wasn't great.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Ultron wasn't a great movie. It was perfectly fine, right? You know what they had them do in Age of Ultron from the opening credits? They took the team that they created and put them on a mission to go fight the bad guys. At the end of this movie, Mystique was like, forget everything you know. It's not time to learn. It's time to fight. You're the X-Men. Who did they fight?
Their feelings. Because it was all Jean. It was just Jean. It was just Jean.
That, like,
this is a lot, man. Like, you have this group, you have these people, you have these collectives. I mean, we didn't even talk about the fact that Magneto's, Eric's family, Magda and his daughter, I want to make sure I get
Nina.
the right name. Nina. Because I was like, oh, this is how you're going to explain away how I want. No, oh, no. This is another daughter. So this isn't Polaris? Okay, this isn't. Okay. So he's got like 8 kids. So how does he not remember just slinging like kids left, right, and center while he was trying to keep the freedom for the mutants? Like, okay. So, and then you got, boom. All right. So he's got these kids. He's got this other kid that he doesn't know, but the mom knows, and she's been kind of, okay.
You know, it's like they turned Magneto into like Darth Vader, and like Quicksilver's Luke, and Quicksilver's mom is like, you know, Uncle Owen and fucking Padme rolled into one. You know,
so is Charles gonna say he's got the low ground? I'm sorry.
Wow.
I think they did that at some point, didn't they?
They did.
But you know what? The horrible thing about this ending is Mystique as a drill sergeant. I'm like, no, that's not who Mystique is.
Okay, so quick show of hands. How many people got Oscars in this room? Ready, break.
1.
She's like,
Yeah.
that's it. She's like, that's it.
Yeah.
This is why I run the team now. Even my man even Charles in the back is like, shoot, I wish I would have had it if they just
What did she teach them to do in Dark Phoenix?
cuss.
They just wore it. They all wore those. I'm not going to say those dumbass X suits because they're not dumb, but like those things should exist because our uniforms got destroyed because the mansion burned down or something. They did all this, and my dumbass was hyped, talking about we got the costumes now. Let's go. Nope, not the case. Not the case. And they again, there's There's nothing X-Men about the X-Men. Like, go on a mission, go fight somebody. Nope. Angst. We're gonna keep this in house. You're the same kind of villain for 3 movies, feeling the same way, kept being forgiven, perfectly fine. You spent. Ultimately, it was Jean having the Phoenix inside of her that was the edge in fighting Apocalypse. And that fool said, "It is revealed. It is revealed. Or all is revealed." And it amounted to nothing. It amounted to absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Speaking of amounting to nothing, y'all have heard us. Like, we got one from the forums. And as always, you can go to forum.postwrestling.com if you want to give the opinion. Just as a reminder, next week we'll be doing Dark Phoenix. After that, the New Mutants. And then Madam Web. Madam Web. We had to get Wei Ting on that one because it was like, WH is like, I'm not doing that movie unless Wei's doing it. Because I said I wasn't going to watch it because it's like, my mother didn't get impregnated in the Amazon with a spider that gave me powers. I didn't need to know that.
Wow.
Which, as a quick note, they are taking one of the best actresses from that movie and they're trying to get her to play the Black Cat because Kevin Feige doesn't play.
Yeah.
Like, make it Euphoria, but for Peter Parker.
I just realized that that's the case, and that's hilarious.
Peter's like, he's just looking at Kevin and saying, "Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin."
Nah, he ain't saying thank you, Kevin. So that's how you mess up a happy home. But I guess,
listen, he gonna keep his P's and Q's. He watched Challengers. He was sitting in that chair eating that popcorn, choking on that.
You owe me one, baby. Hey, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Oh, see, this is what I miss. So there's that. So I want to give you some props because Anthony Ald mentioned Cam Hawkins from The Ringer. Now this show has become a must listen for him. So I'm hoping Anthony enjoyed.
Appreciate it.
And now we're going to get to Jermaine. Clearly, none of us like this movie. There is no like, hey, by the way, guys, we really liked it. Like, we're just going to tear these movies apart. I feel better. Jermaine, DC Jermaine from Chicago. Very happy to see Cam Hawkins on the show. I don't like to pat myself on the back. Little do people know, I help open the forbidden door from Post Wrestling and the Torch. It's a forbidden fence. It's been open for years. Actually, this is the 2-year anniversary of me starting doing this full time with WH. So you've done nothing. I put a podcast together from Nate Milton. Oh my God, Nate Milton of Post Wrestling and Cam Hawkins of the Torch of the Ringer. In the words of the final boss, you're welcome. So Cam, just quick there. Do you remember having a show put together by producer Jermaine from Chicago where?
Absolutely not, but I'm sure it was great.
All right, so there we go.
Yeah. No.
I'm
gonna need a link to that, Jermaine. I do want to listen though. I'm sure that was fun.
I saw great value Suicide Squad 3. The Thunderbolts trailer. This is a movie I'm looking forward to. The trailer was good. Can't wait to see them fight Sentry, one of the 15 Superman clones that Marvel's has. On to my review of this X-Men movie that someone said comics or origins be damn, we do it our own way. Someone set us up the bomb. You have no chance to escape. Make your time. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, he overacts sometime. Always bring it and get the relationship of Professor X and Magneto right. Jennifer Lawrence remains the Roman Reigns of the X-Men films. I'm just here for a check, and the less I come to work, the happier I am. Oscar Isaac tried, but that's not my apocalypse. More like Ivan Ooze. The X-Men cartoon, broken clock twice a day, from the 90s is what he should be. That makeup was worse than the Skrulls in Secret Invasion. I love Phylox, the half-British Asian. Depends how they write it. Bombshell. She's so underrepresented in live action rather than a Phylox show than an Agatha All Alone or an Echo. Agatha All Alone or a Echo. But that's me. That is just you. Agatha All Alone is going to be spectacular. It's going to be fun. The movie goes too crazy with the CGI in the end for me. How many times does the Research Institute need to be blown up? The mansion needs to be blown up every time because That's what happens in the X-Men. A research institute, the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters at Graymoken Lane is not a research institute.
Xavier Tech.
Xavier Tech, like ITT Tech. Like I got a mutant power, but I can't do it. I got a 9 to 5, so I got to learn those powers on the
They should have let me
weekends.
do the Xavier Institute commercial. I would have told you to get off the couch.
See, that's a deep pull. I like that. We seen it already. It's odd to have Quicksilver be Magneto's son, but have Wanda nowhere in sight. Bad movie, not Michael B. Jordan Fantastic Four bad, but more on the level of Love and Thunder. And lowest grossing MCU movie, The Marvels.
Jesus Christ.
It's the Blade Trinity of the X-Men movie. I just said it's the third highest grossing X-Men movie. And that's if I'm not counting the $1 billion that Deadpool just pulled out of its rear end to save this sorry franchise that Fox kept underpaying people to keep alive on life support because they wanted to keep the, but then they ran out of money. So Disney had to buy them, almost like what's going to happen with Warner, with DC. Like we just saw your Superman come over and be Wolverine for 7 minutes. Like, stop making a scene, little Bill. Like, it's happening right in front of you. Just let it go.
No. Bless his heart. Hey,
Bless
and
his
listen,
heart.
you want to talk about a fantastic small role. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Like, I understood his motivations.
Absolutely. Well, he says 4 out of 10 for this movie. I try not to when I can grade things. I just said this movie sucks. And I am angry that it exists. I'm really committed to this podcast. I know you keep.
He is committed, isn't he?
He is committed. He's committed. I mean,
even when we tell the truth about him.
He found you at work. Like,
I know.
That's commitment. Like, that's
It's
committed.
True. It's true. By the way, folks, don't visit me in my real life. I really, events come up to me.
What if he sneaks behind you and gives you a little tickle?
What the fuck? It was like that. It's almost like that. Listen, events. Post wrestling events, Poison Rana events, Torch events. If Mr. Keller ever fucking does them, he's gonna want to do them just to meet me. I know it. I know Wade Keller's a huge WH Park.
Sam
fan.
Kinison and Mr. Rogers.
But
we didn't know we needed.
Listen, don't be like Jermaine. Don't come up to me in my real life and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, I was doing good until you fucking came into my real life. IRL, not for all of you, okay? Unless I know you, like my boy Scrump, like Mike Murray, like now my good friend Rich Fann and his son, the third. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, Trey's already trying to get his he's trying to get his residuals. He's still got
and my good friend Cakes. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Oh Jesus, you and Travis are like the biggest habitual line steppers in my life. And it's absolutely
You're
hilarious.
welcome. You're welcome.
I know. So thank you. And if you want to provide content, good or otherwise, please go to forum.postwrestling.com. We always will read it. Next week, like I said, we're going to be hitting that Dark Phoenix narcotic. But before we get out of here, Cam, as always, thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate you. And I want to ask you a question. What's your name? What would be your mutant name? And what would be your power if you were granted the ability through Xavier's research facility for aware youngsters, as Jermaine would say?
So I always say, like, reading minds is like the power to have, because you don't need to be fast or strong. If you can read people's minds, you can control them, right? But let's throw that out the window. My name would be Hopscotch, and my power would be, while I can't physically teleport, I can jump to anywhere I can see.
So you're a Scott Liddell mutant then. You're a Scott Liddell creative mutant.
There you go.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Like I would like, like if I can, if I want to jump to the ceiling, I can jump to the ceiling because I can process that and hold it for a little while. But yeah, that would be my power. Just some dumb shit that would come in handy every now and again.
Or Brian Michael Bendis mutant. That's also Brian Michael Bendis type of mutant as well. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like I'd make a killing. Like I don't even know like where that would really come in handy. I'd be great at like I don't know, slumber parties where you can't touch the ground because it's lava. I'd be amazing. Jump straight from the bed, like to the kitchen, back to the bed. Don't disturb anybody. It'd be great. Special power.
Excellent. And before we get out of here, do you have anything you want folks to know where they can find your work besides, like, everywhere? And of course, if you want to let them know uh, any recommendations comic wise.
Yeah. So what's interesting, you did ask me about that. So while I have not been reading any new comics, I've been tapping into a property based on a lot of old comics. I've recently did like a season 1 through 5 rewatch of Tales from the Crypt. It's one of my most favorite things in the entire world.
Up there with Goosebumps.
If there was an actor you loved in the 90s, shout out to Goosebumps, shout out to the Goose Down. If there was an actor you loved in the 90s, they might have made an appearance on Tales from the Crypt. Excellent rewatch. You're going to have to go through nefarious means to find it because it's not on HBO for some reason. But yeah, I definitely recommend going back through, watching some of those. On the budget they had, they told some really great stories. So Tales from the Crypt, I recommend revisiting that. And to tell you what, there is the last book that I was kind of following and reading, I believe it's called That Texas Blood. It's like a crime comic. Really, really fun read. I have like 8 issues laying around somewhere. That's been fun to kind of go through. I still haven't read the X-Force that my good buddy Nala Rose wrote. I have that in this apartment somewhere too. I'm looking around. There's like random comics strewn about. Hey, speaking of, I guess I always go to the box. Probably what inspired me under my last search, and it's been a while, picked up a copy of Creep Show. Again, falls along the lines of that Tales from the Crypt. Love it to death. So yeah, I'm not super tapped into comics. Batman. I think I have that one too. Yes, sir. That's a fun read, man. I enjoy it so far. As far as finding me, the socials, Seahawk, CEEHAWK. Most recently, I talked to Braun Breaker going into SummerSlam. We talked some Kennesaw State ball. We talked some NCAA football. Being a team player, really, really fun stuff. And this comes out when, Rich? This will come out tomorrow. On Wednesday? Okay. So if it was Thursday, I could probably say it. But, AEW All In is coming out, or is going to be this weekend. I have a long form thing I wrote based on an interview with Swerve Strickland going into Wembley against Bryan Danielson. I cannot tell you where it's going to be. What I can tell you is, number one, my relationship with the Ringer has not changed at all. That is very much the home team. This is an outlet that I've been reading and following really, really heavily since college. You never know your audience is. Their most recent big thing was a list of the top hip hop influencers and personalities. Some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you will be like, I don't know who he's talking about. But yeah, I was covering DreamCon here in Austin. Their sports editor reached out to me and said, hey, we're getting in. They hit me with the Ted Turner. Hey, we're getting into the wrestling business. So we're working on something over there. That'll be out this coming Thursday. Really excited about it. Nervous because I'm not working with my editor, who is very much in tune with. I'm not saying I'm Vince Russo. My ideas aren't outlandish, but I have a great editor who knows how to reel in the things that I'm saying. And so we're kind of in uncharted territory. So please be patient with me while I figure this out all by myself on my own. But yeah, that'll be out Thursday. I'll have it all on the socials during the day Thursday. So I'm excited for that.
Outstanding, my friend. Well, thank you so much for taking the time tonight and the energy. And as always, bringing it. WH, my friend. Anything you got for the people? Any recommendations?
Well, first of all, this goes out on Wednesday for our loyal, wonderful Patreon followers at the POST Wrestling Café. But Did you not see that this is going to be available to the freeloaders on Thursday?
Yeah, that was the thing I was balancing. So like the freeloaders would have been spoiled and gotten Cam's gift, but the folks that pay are getting it tomorrow. So
Right.
you can't do it. Can't do it.
Listen, but
Wait,
not
they pay
only
you money.
we get the freeloaders, we're getting the free ringers. Because
Yeah.
all the Cam's fans from the Ringer are going to be listening to this. Hey, why don't you just jump on board Post Wrestling too while you're at it?
There we go,
You
right?
still support the Ringer, of course. Don't leave them.
Yeah.
But you know what? Find that little extra, espresso money and send over to Post Wrestling, because
There you
then
go.
you're going to get all the good shit like this
Man.
all the time, 24/7, 365. You know what I'm saying? Recommendations. Rich, I just saw that they re-released a great comic by a great comic creator by the name of Joe Sacco, who's a journalist, and he did a wonderful comic called Palestine, and they re-released it in a deluxe hardcover edition, which I saw, and it's beautiful. And I totally recommend that book. That's a really great, especially if you want to have an understanding of like that this is not a new problem that we're having in the region. This is like generational thing. So if you want to have a good understanding of the history of Palestine and like the kind of the things that are happening there now, and for a long time, Joe Sacco's wonderful graphic novel Palestine is a great read, and it's just a great form of comics. Like it's a great example of like someone who is a writer and artist, just bringing the whole totality of great cartooning together in a personal work that has a lot of meaning. And definitely he draws feet, unlike some people. So there you go. Myself, I just did the G1 finals review with Bruce Lord and Karen Peterson over at the cafe, where I give my unfiltered thoughts about the booking of New Japan recently of this tournament, of the audible they just called by having Zack Sabre Jr. go for his title shot in October and not wait till January, because Naito's knees are completely shot and he cannot last more than 2 more matches in his current form, and probably retiring more or less from 2025 on. And and then we're doing this. Got another 3 weeks of this, and then Agatha All Along. Yeah, Jermaine, you're gonna have to fucking watch Agatha All Along, motherfucker. What are you gonna say to that? Don't give me any bitching about the Marvels either anymore. All right. Anyways, yes, we have the new the merchandise MCU later, an homage to Pyro Man and Iron Fist number 50. Yes, that is waiting in the corner as fucking Thanos.
Hey,
Wait, one thing.
All right.
Talk about recommendations. Let me tell you what I don't recommend. The new Watchmen cartoon.
Oh,
What?
Watchmen Chapter 1 just came out. So listen, you guys don't even know that it came out. That's probably the point. There's a full-fledged animated version of the first half of Watchmen that just came out under DC. Guys, I don't know how you felt about the Watchmen movie. I felt like it was soulless. And what I mean is, it's like a shot-for-shot remake of the book. This is a shot-for-shot remake of the book. For what? For who?
why did they make this?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna watch this now out of morbid curiosity.
And you're gonna watch it. And you're gonna be like, you know what? This was just fine. It's just the thing that I've already seen.
And then we're gonna cover it a bit at the beginning of MCU later next week, Rich.
Okay, so DCU haters.
It is a bunch of nothing. In that, like, I don't even know what you call the animation style. Well, no. It's like if they did the
Sackhoff?
it's like the what if animation style if it was 20 FPS. It's not great.
It's like that the pirate thing they did in the DVD, right?
Which at least is kind of almost its own thing in that a bunch of people probably skipped it when they read Watchmen.
Oh, okay. I'm watching the trailer. This is
You see
terrible.
exactly
Like the
what I'm
animation.
saying?
Oh yeah, it's like, hey, we're gonna make anime, except we're gonna do it American style. And we're gonna do it with less money than just a low budget anime studio would make. It's just CGI. It's just really bad CGI. It's like a lesser version of the What If animation style, Rich. That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. That's what I'm
It's
saying
like
here.
What If in 20 FPS. Yeah. It's not great.
All right, Rich, just do this for the people on YouTube. No. Come on, give us the note to that. The X. That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Like, I'm
great.
looking and
It's
I'm
not
trying to
great.
figure out how my least favorite CEO pulled this off, because he's got Titus Welliver, Troy Baker, Adrian Barbeau, Matthew Reese, Katie Sackhoff, Kelly Hu. Like, these are all good. Like, how did these people just show up and do voice acting and be like, nah, I'm out. I can't do this.
It's not
I'm looking
great.
at the pictures on DC's site, and oh, here, I'm gonna share it. I'm sorry. This is MCU hater. This is stupid.
It's not great. I hate that I brought it up. I don't want to ruin anybody's night. It's
This
not
is
great.
like the SNL like.
It's like let's make it look like Dave Gibbons' art, but in 20 FPS as much as possible.
It's not great.
Like, I
Oh my God.
remember I played The Last of Us, and this is like if you took The Last of Us and like you just stared at a pause screen for like an hour and 30 minutes. Like, look at this. These people they both have the same facial expression. Like, how much actual drawn? Okay, no.
One of them is literally somebody with no expression anymore.
Right.
But anyways, we can discuss this.
Stupid. This is
We'll discuss it next week, Rich. It'll be part of our hate watch, a bonus hate
Horseshit.
watch.
Why does this man look like he just had a vacation in Japan? No.
Rich, as a wholesome man, I can't believe you made me watch so much ass today.
Listen.
How dare you put so much ass in my life? That was that guy. And guys, that's a long movie.
It is. It was a long movie.
What does it run, like 2:15?
I was like, I made a mistake starting at 10 p.m. my time, and then I was like, I had to take a break, and then I'm like, I finished at 1. I'm like, I got to work tomorrow. Fuck. Anyways.
Man, so I have no recommendations other than don't watch any of the stuff we just talked about.
But listen to us talk about it. Just
read the stuff that they suggested. I love that Texas Blood. I think the pulp. I'm always a big fan of pulp stuff like that. You can find me on Twitter, Rich_fan. I guess I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna try to put my work out there, but I'm gonna try to migrate to Threads. But Threads kind of sucks. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry, guys. I can't pretend like it doesn't. I'm here at Post as of today. 2 years. That's crazy. That's like absurd. And it's funny because the 2-year anniversary coincides with the fact that Melissa was on that first episode of She-Hulk.
Very nice.
And she was. So after we're done with this, I'm going to remind her of that and ask what she got from my anniversary. I'll see if I can pull that off.
Tell her to send a DM to Karen Peterson. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, her and Karen probably already talked about it.
I know y'all have watched it a million times. If you're listening to this and haven't watched it, go watch Batman Cape Crusader. It is that fire. Please go watch that.
I haven't yet, so I will. I know you were talking about it. I just haven't had the time. I was trying to catch up on this, and then WH was browbeating me about catching up on the Acolyte, and then I saw it got canceled, so I still got an episode to go.
WH, have you watched Batman yet?
Not yet. I'll take a look at the trailer as we go off air later.
And I'm gonna watch an episode before I go to bed. That's how I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna watch an episode of the
Let's Cam, thank you. Dude, I love your Instagram, by the way. Can I just tell you?
Yeah, it's I feel like now it's just like the work that I do, and then my Instagram stories are just me being outside trying not to be an old man. So yeah.
They're fun. I enjoy them. I feel like I know you better because I follow you on Instagram.
My man, I appreciate it.
I can't wait to meet you in real life. You gotta make that happen, Rich Fan. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm on it. He's wearing the official East Coast Cast shirt right there.
Always, same energy.
So thank you all. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, WH. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for being in Post patrons, and until next week, WH.
Yeah, we'll all MCU later. Sorry.